SAP system that we use. Supposed to record it, sorry. And then we also have two other co-hosts, Alex and John. John, if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm John. I'm Engineering and Projects Manager at Nora Water Technologies, based in the UK, in the Midlands. I had a career with Severn Trent Services before they were acquired by Nora, so I've been in the water industry for 12 years. I had lots of great experiences, and I'm looking forward to hearing about what you guys have to say, and sharing some of my experiences with you. Alex?
Yeah, thanks, John. Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Bettinardi, and I'm the Global Product Manager for Ozone and Advanced Oxidation Processes at the Nora Water Technology. I'm this industry since 10 years, more or less, always working with advanced oxidation processes, and happy to be here today and hear from you guys, from your experience.
Awesome, thank you so much. So I just wanted to give a quick overview of how we've set up the board that you're looking at right now. So we have questions broken out, and then the top portion of the board is what it currently is in the industry, and then the bottom section is what we would like to see in the future for our industry. So the first thing that we wanted to start out with, we wanted to ask how many people in this session are actually under 30. Okay, awesome. So we actually have quite a few. Cool. And then we wanted to ask about like your education and everything, what you guys are, where you guys are at your career.
Yeah, anybody that want to share some information about you, your experience, your education, what you do?
I can go. So, hi everybody, I'm Elia Alessandro Morciano. I'm from Italy as well. And well, my background is in environmental engineering, which was pretty much focused on combining environmental water management, waste management with civil engineering. And I'm now working as a sales engineer in the Netherlands. So I deal basically every day with industrial water technologies and across many different industries. Shall we say something else, or this is fine as an introduction?
First question, are you aware of Nora's technologies, being an Italian yourself?
Yes, of course I am, but I'm looking forward to know more.
Ah, great.
We are hiring, by the way, so send your CV.
Oh. Cool. Thanks, Alex. I'll have a look.
This is how we make water sector more attractive for young professionals.
Exactly. This is our part.
I have a UK role as well available, so yeah, we are hiring UK as well.
Oh, nice.
So
much better working with me than John, I can assure you.
Now's when you get the salary discussion underway. Who can pay you more?
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. I mean, he's in UK. It's basically raining 300 days a year here. We're close to Milan.
Worse food as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm Italian. These are the cards I have to play, right?
John, you gotta find some other sellers here.
Well, we've got the SWAN event. You know, it's a UK-based event, isn't it? It's the smart water technologies and everything involved with that.
John, Elia is Italian. It will never work, right? You should ask for an English guy.
And conferences are all virtual anyway, so he can dial in from Italy.
Probably, yeah. But soon we'll be traveling, won't we? It was in Glasgow before, which is basically the UK.
All right. Anybody else?
Sure, I'll go. So my name is Lisa Andrews. I am currently, a young professional working at KWR, also based in the Netherlands, but I'm actually living in Germany at the moment. And I did my way into water was a bit through the social sciences of water. So I'm not an engineer, but actually I studied IWRM, so Integrated Water Resources Management at McGill in Montreal. And then moved to Europe about 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah, I've been working in kind of the engagement and capacity building sphere of water.
Well, that's really good, Lisa, because that leads us nicely onto what we were going to get onto, which is, do you think engineers coming into the water industry need to have a STEM background. And I think, yeah, you've proven not really.
I think engineers do, but water professionals don't necessarily have to have an engineering background.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we see it a lot actually throughout, people gaining experience from whatever background they're from, but you can still forge a career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've got some good examples. I mean, Alex has been in the industry probably the longest of us three. So we haven't talked about our ages, but yeah, I'm 36. So I've been in the industry 12 years. Kayleigh's a bit younger, aren't you, Kayleigh?
Yeah, I'm 24 and I've only been in for 2 years. Yeah,
Nice.
hired at Nora right out of college. Yeah, my background was mechanical engineering in college. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm 29 and been working for 6 years. So yeah, lots of different like pathways into water in your career as well, I guess. So yeah. I do find though, if you're in engineering, at least as a Canadian, if you're an engineer, you're going to get a job right out of your bachelor's. But if you're a social scientist in water, it takes a little bit more time to get a job.
Yeah, so I'm a mechanical engineer. I joined straight out of university, and it was just a great career to go into. Very fortunate. So that's another one of the questions, really. How it's very competitive in the world of work as you're coming out of university and coming out of college. What makes the water industry more attractive than other industries, oil and gas? Yeah, obviously financial, the city basically. What makes water industry more attractive at this time?
I think I can jump in to answer that question. Well, give my opinion at least. I think sustainability factor plays an important role nowadays. So I think youth people are more environmentally and sustainability aware. And look, if we look at, for instance, oil and gas industry, for instance, as you mentioned, there might be that idea, I don't know, about a lot of profit related with the oil and gas industry, whereas with water, there's something else there. And I think the awareness is one of the factors that youth people might be thinking about when choosing water career.
And we wanted to get onto that as well with oil and gas. Obviously, a lot of the product technology we supply are also into oil and gas, because there's a lot of water used in oil and gas, cooling waters especially, which we provide technologies for to disinfect. But as well as all the municipal work we do. Alex could probably cover it better than I.
Yeah, I mean, but the final purpose, I believe, it's something we are interested in, right? We have some water challenges that might impact very negatively the environment, and so we want to solve some type of water challenges. Can be water quality that might impact humans, water quality issues that might impact environment. So I agree. I believe this is, for me, this was one of the major things that made water attractive, absolutely.
I think that's the same for you, wasn't it, Kayleigh? We talked about before about the environment being very important in your career decision.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge factor in me choosing this company.
And I think that's where we can go in the future as well. So that's something that young people can really change, having that understanding of sustainability, the environmental impact. And the water industry uses a lot of energy. So yeah, a lot of the treatment processes, some of them behind my head here, they use a lot of aeration and a lot of pumps.
I think something else that can make the industry more attractive for young professionals is marketing. I think water companies and everyone working in water could get a bit more attention if good marketing was done.
Yeah, and inclusive marketing as well.
Yes.
So representing all genders and people of color and everything as well, because in a lot of our companies we see not so much diversity, I would say. So
that you're almost leading the conversation perfectly for us here, because one of our questions later on is, what do we think about the industry? Is it receptive to women as it should be?
Yeah, and we have more women in this call than men, so I guess
that a random assignment though.
Is it? Was it random? Yeah.
Or maybe slightly.
Well, the stats for younger professionals coming into the water sector do show that there are more young women coming up through the ranks than there was in the previous generation, but it's still the leadership level and the management levels are still disproportionately male dominated.
And I'm going to share, and again, that nicely leads into what we're going to share here. So I'm going to just change my screen to show you a global water intelligence page that we wanted to share with you around that subject. So yeah, if you're looking at my other screen here, this is
We can't actually see it right now. We still see the Miro board.
Okay.
John, I told you to take a picture. That was easier.
The picture was too small there. There we go. Did that show?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the water industry's most powerful women. So it's some of the key women involved in the sector. If you're from the UK, you'll be very aware of the photos. Liv Garfield, Severn Trent PLC CEO. Yeah, someone I've been fortunate enough to meet as well during my career. But as we scroll down, we get to number 17, who's Mirka Wilder, and she's De Nora Water Technology CEO. This is something we wanted to talk about later on, but she brings a real culture of change to us, and it's been fantastic working with her so far. So she's been with the business just over 2.5 years, would you say, Alex?
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah. And yeah, Kayleigh can probably talk about the culture she's brought and a bit more openness and honesty.
Yeah, do you want to get into that right now?
Yeah, we can touch on it. Yeah.
Okay. So I was actually really fortunate enough that when I was brought into this company, I was hired underneath Monique Pichpali, who was setting up our SAP system, who directly reported to Mirka. So I actually had a really good relationship with her and everything. And like John was saying, she does bring a lot of diversity, and she does try and bring about a lot of changes to the company and to the culture. And it's really great to see. It's really a cool thing to be a part of.
So any of the businesses you guys are working for at the moment, do they have any leadership female at the top? No.
Not yet, but maybe we have a CEO opening if anyone is interested.
Going for the big one.
At Royal Haskoning DHV, our director of water for the UK and the Netherlands is a woman, but that's pretty much the top level director female leadership position that we have.
Yeah, in my company at KWR, in our management team, we had one woman, and this year they hired another woman, so that was good. So we actually have 2 women, but I think versus 4 men. And most of our leadership positions, like for project managers or program managers, are men. There's very few women as well. I think only a few, and yeah. So yeah, a lot of work to be done, and we've been trying to kind of push for advocating to have more. We had a International Women's Day event as well, and kind of asked ourselves some questions internally on what we could do to attract more women. And again, like this marketing came up in terms of attracting new staff and colleagues as well. And yeah, but I think it's really important to kind of, to figure out at what different tiers and what different levels you can attract young professionals into water, and young professionals of all the walks of water sector. So yeah,
I believe it's very cultural, right? There are some countries in the world where we see more and more young professional, young women. If I think about North America, I because of my role, I talk very often with engineering firms and consultants, and more I see young women engineers sitting at the table, also a big engineering firm, but I agree with you. I mean, at the management level, that's a different story.
Yeah, we see it the same in our business at the moment. A lot of the older members of the team, they tend to be male. So the industry has been quite male dominated for a long time. And I think we're all on the same page here that it is moving in a new direction, which I think is great.
sorry, to bring the example of my company. So we are an engineering firm, basically. And I have to say we have a lot of women. Most of them, they are like young engineers. I mean, they graduate from TU Delft and then they just join the company right away. So I would say it's pretty diverse from this point of view. But yeah, like somebody mentioned culture before, and this somehow rang me a bell, because another aspect that I think it would be very important to actually attract new professionals to the water sector is to have companies with a more solid and company culture. Like most of the people, they want to work. I talk for myself as well. Like when I see the culture of companies like, I don't know, Google or new startups and stuff like that, I'm like, wow, cool. Like it seems a very cool place to be. The thing is, I'm very much interested into water, that I'm like, okay, in any case, I don't want to work for a company like that. But if I could have both, you know, in the same place, like working on something that I'm really passionate about, like water, and being in an environment that is a bit in line with what we have in the tech industry, for instance, I think that would be super cool. And I think a lot of people will definitely choose to work for something that is future oriented, like water, right? I mean, the choice for me when I decided to get into the water sector and to study environmental engineering was like, water is going to be a problem in the future. So it's going to be something to work on, and yeah, something to invest in.
I think you made a good choice.
Yeah.
In order to keep you, Nora will be building a slide at the office, you know.
You joke. My last work environment actually had a slide between the 3rd and 2nd floor.
Oh, it did.
Didn't help to keep me because it didn't help with culture, but that's a really actually great example of how companies tend to do a lot on like the fringes of culture, but not really address how things operate in the actual workplace itself to make sure that the culture isn't toxic and is open to a diversity of thought and leadership opportunities.
You're seeing that a lot with change management companies coming in, especially bigger organizations. You're seeing a lot of these subjects touched upon. Denora is a little bit too small for it at the moment, but the change management and the metrics of attitudes in the workplace are certainly changing and certainly coming on. I talk about it all the time with other people outside of work, but in our company, we don't have that just yet.
I think also like what differentiates like this generation of young professionals is like this huge technology wave that we are bringing in a certain skill set that older generations don't have. And with that comes this like desire for innovation. Like, I mean, yesterday I was in the roundtable yesterday with Esri. They were talking about how they've like incorporated GIS and spatial tools into like different ways, different like smart water technologies, and the utilities that were in the conversation were like, yeah, it's not really a question of like whether the technologies exist. It's just the adoption like within our utilities. Like it's a culture that like isn't open to this like advance of new software and tools to be able to do this. And so it's like a fight, it's like a challenge to be able to like move us in that direction. Whereas, and young people, if you're in an environment where like you're not like encouraged to like, and you don't see that progress happening, and you have those skills to offer and you don't get those development opportunities, or that is like very off-putting, right? So I think if you think about like whether the industry is receptive to young professionals, it's like, is the industry being forward thinking? Like, are these companies like thinking about the future and the growth of this workforce?
Yeah, you really touched on something interesting there, and actually something close to my heart. I left the water industry and went into the theme park industry for 2 years. And they are what you're describing, forward thinking, a lot more apps, a lot more digital. But being able to come back to water then after that experience has given me a great opportunity, because water is about building robust processes that have to work, especially in water treatment, which I work in. Things have to be robust and have to work for long periods with little maintenance, really.
And what brought you back to the water sector after that then?
I don't know, Alex could probably explain that one. Actually, marketing. So there's a lot more opportunities now in the company. I had a great opportunity to travel with the business. I've been to the marketing events in the US, Dubai, Amsterdam as well at WEFTEC. So it was just great to come back. And the opportunity to actually spread some of that knowledge I learned in another industry, because they are ahead as well, which is interesting. That's one thing we sort of touched on there, that they are kind of ahead of where the water industry is because of that conservative nature of the water industry. So yeah, but the great opportunity for young people is that we're kind of behind in the water industry, but you still have that time now to implement things that other industries find maybe normal, but they're quite special for the water industry. So we've got some examples later on, actually, that we can share with you.
Sorry, just for curiosity, just what section of the Nora, or what sector of the Nora are you working on, John? You said it in the beginning.
Yeah, so my background is filtration. So I've designed a number of filtration plants around the world. So it's the tertiary stage of a wastewater plant, as well as the clean. So
do you design the filter floors with Tetra block systems? Is that it?
Tetra block, you know, Pedro, very good. Yeah. So we have a Tetra block system which goes in the bottom of our sand filter.
I've installed them. I've installed them already. Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Which project? Where were you?
In Ireland.
Oh, in Ireland.
I deal with Andrew and Dave.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we've got projects.
We can continue this conversation later.
Yeah, we were. I wasn't aware, Pedro. Great. You're probably putting some of my designs in, because I've done a number of projects in Ireland as well.
Probably you did one for me 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, great.
John, you just found your candidate. You're happy now?
And yeah, I found my candidate. You ready to come for interview now? Great.
No. There was someone here before me, so yeah. I'll take the second interview. Leah will take the first one.
Yeah. So. And that's the great thing about De Nora. We have so many technologies. It's great to be part of a company where you have multiple technologies. I mean, yes, it must be great to work with the water industry where you can work on a single thing, but with De Nora, you've got the clean water side, you've got the municipal wastewater side, you've got the industrial side, you've got the oil and gas, you got the cruise ship. So Alex will go on quickly to his cruise ship experience.
I knew you were going there. I was working in the engine room of a cruise ship for a water trip. Yeah, that's the official.
And what places did you visit, Alex, as a young professional?
All over the world, but not just because of the cruise ship, right? But that's an excuse to enter the water business for me. I mean, I love traveling. Most of young people love traveling. And it's an opportunity, especially if you work for a global company. You can really go everywhere and visit places that, I mean, if you want to visit by yourself, it's gonna cost some money, right? But if you go in a beautiful place, because you have to work in that place, well, even better, that's a bonus, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think coming back to like what Elia and Emma were saying about company culture, like this is all a part of it, right? Like whether you can travel, whether you get visibility, what recognition you get, and also like what Jess was saying as well, right? That you know, are companies forward looking? Are they kind of stuck in their ways, or is the leadership open to exchanges with young professionals, or young professionals just considered a one-off? So I think this company culture as well, like just attracting new talent, it has to come down to a lot of things, especially in 2021 now, that like, yeah, we're looking for more than just a job and more than just, you know, financial stability, but also contributing to changing the world and making it a better place as well, and doing more than than just like the status quo or whatever. But Yeah, I mean, maybe we should just introduce all of ourselves first, because a lot of us here know each other actually. And I don't know if Nora knows us, but a few of us that are in the room are actually on the RISP leadership team and our RISP ambassadors, so SWAN Forum's Rising Smart Water Professionals Committee. And then I also noticed we have one person, Nivedita, here as well.
Hey.
Yeah. So I just
Hey,
thought it would
Lisa.
be, hi. I just thought it would be nice to like let you guys know that we're also kind of vouching for young professionals in this sector, and that, yeah, there's a lot of ideas and things that we could work on together. This is something that Nora is working on as well.
Yeah, we've done surveys in the past, and we have another one coming out, or that we're actually launching today, to collect information like this. So we'd be happy to share the results from what we've done in the past and what's coming out of the one that we've got this year.
We were only a little nervous because Alex and I towards the top end of that young professional. So
we're flexible.
You're flexible, and I wanted to hear that. That's great. One interesting thing you said there, Lisa, was, and I've seen in the water industry, and the nice thing about a career is you get to have that full closure. So you can take a project from the cradle, you're right to the grave in the decommissioning stage, and you get to feel that closure of seeing it through the design phase, seeing it through commissioning, and seeing it working and operating, and the difference it can make to people. That's something I didn't really see in other industries when I left for a short period.
Yeah, on the other side, I also believe this is not an easy industry to enter. I mean, when you are graduating from college, you're not ready for this industry, right? Yeah, you learn a lot of things, but water treatment and process is a different thing, right? Something probably you learn only by doing. You learning really with a kind of training on the job. And it's very important also to enter in a company where you have, let's say, people with more experience that are willing to mentor, right? That are willing to share experience, that are willing to train people, and that are also willing to accept that young people can make mistakes sometimes, right? But that's my experience, that's the only way. So I don't know what you think, but in general, I mean, universities or different types of studies, they don't really prepare for this specific world, isn't it? I mean, I studied chemistry and I had to learn day by day, doing things on the job. There's not a manual you read, a manual where you learn stuff, right? Yeah, some introduction, but don't know if you agree with this statement.
Yeah, as someone who just graduated a year back from grad school, I realized that after 2 years of environmental engineering, coursework and everything in school, I hadn't learned anything about remediation. And that was the first time I, really saw what was happening was when I started working. So yeah, I completely agree with that school doesn't completely prepare us for what the engineering field has to offer, and mistake tolerance would be highly appreciated by all young professionals, I'm sure.
Interestingly, my first day on the job, I was put into a meeting with one of our big utilities companies in the UK, which I won't mention any names, but it was an issue on site. I wasn't part of the company when the issue happened, but I was thrown straight in the deep end in that meeting, and you understood the process and commercial implications of making an error in design, which set me up really to make sure that you've got to fully focus on what you're doing at all times. One lecturer once told me that the best thing that can happen is you lose money on a job. The worst thing that can happen is you injure or you kill somebody. So yeah, it kind of hits home.
I tend to disagree, or not to disagree, but to agree only to some extent.
That's fine, Pedro. You're not my candidate, so you can disagree.
No, what I just wanted to say is I don't think that's exclusive. I don't have any experience on other industries, but I tend to believe that it's not exclusive to the water industry. So obviously, when someone graduates or when someone gets out of university, there's always something that needs to be learned by doing the job. So whatever the background is, I think there's only one way to learn, which is learn by doing. And even if I change careers on 25, on 30, on 35, wherever I will be going, I will need to learn by doing again. So
But are digital twins doing, are they?
Sorry?
Are digital twins doing? You know, are making analyses and simulations before we physically get to site and do. Is that doing?
I don't get the question now.
Oh, I think you're doing from a physical perspective, you know, the physical doing, getting your hands on. But I'm referring back to the sort of digital side now, that we can prototype, we can, you know, simulate before things actually happen.
So are you suggesting Pedro can simulate his own learning? Or
I can, but even when I'm going to simulate that, I will need to do something that I've never done before. So that's the point I make. I think learning is, regardless of the age, is something that happens. So so that's it. It's not. So going back to the discussion on backgrounds and support that companies give in terms of learning on the job, I think in regard to backgrounds and to academic history, look, we'll always need to learn something when we move into a new place. And in terms of company cultures, it really depends on the company. So there's companies where structures, probably companies where structures are bigger, there's probably more time for some people to spend teaching new incomers.
Yeah, that's another good question around mentorship, around joining a big organization who maybe have more projects, compared to joining a smaller organization where you maybe have more responsibility and accountability from a young age.
There's different. I also think that there's different challenges in different companies. So and it really depends on each one of us. So we might be more comfortable by getting mentored by someone and having full attention from someone, and we can also be extremely comfortable and feeling challenged and motivated by going somewhere where we have more, let's say, freedom. We don't have much mentorship, and we will still be able to do things. So
some of those key messages I've heard from senior colleagues in the past, they stay with you for your whole career. And I'm still implementing the same way of working day to day. It's strange. I almost hear that person's voice, even though I don't work with them anymore. You get to certain instances with a customer, and I hear that person's voice and how they would act, and I follow the same routine, which is, that's mentorship for you.
If I could jump in, I have just another thing I would add to this board here, like in terms of the barriers for the water industry, but then also something that could be like maybe a way that young professionals could impact it, like maybe kind of a middle ground here. As someone who doesn't currently work in the water industry, but had a brief stint and helped me get the connections to be here today, I would say that I think the water industry is very hard to break into if you're coming from a different discipline. So like if you don't have an education in this field specifically, it's very hard to come in from another industry. And I think like, and which is kind of funny, right? Because like you think about how much overlap there is like in the smart water field with like innovation that's happening in other areas of tech, and like how much the water industry can learn from some of those other innovations. Like it's so clear from just being at this conference how much potential there is there. But I think it's hard to enter if you don't have a formal education in this space, which in some ways makes sense. I mean, like if you're going into a very strict kind of like engineering role, like you do need to have certain training to be able to fulfill the responsibilities of that. But I'd argue that there's also a lot of, I mean, hopefully I could stand as an example that it's possible to do that. And then also I'd say like from my experience moving into tech, maybe because it's such a new, rapidly evolving field that so many people are looking to move into, it is super receptive and open to people coming from different disciplines. And that's not just in terms of like when I needed to reach out to other people and make connections to like build a space for myself here. It's also just figuring out how to get skills to work in this industry. And I think that young professionals, like transitioning now to like this last column, really have the ability to create those bridges. So like, if we think about this group in particular, how can these young professionals, how can RISP create pathways for people that aren't necessarily coming from a strictly water background to like create a space for themselves here? I think that's really important for the growth of the industry, and then also to like help more different perspectives like kind of get accounted for.
Yeah, the different perspectives is a great point. I mean, if you're in the water industry for a long time, you think there's one way of doing something. And go back to my example, I just left for the theme park industry for a bit. You come back and there's actually different ways of doing things, even just looking at SCADA or the way a system is controlled from a safety perspective. It's just totally different from different industries, but there's more modern ways of looking at it. So yeah, and coming from a completely non-engineering background, you could bring a lot to the business and the industry in general.
And adding on to what Jessica said about, breaking the barrier of entry or making it more easy for people from other industries to enter the water space. I think that's something young professionals can contribute to the industry by, a generation of being used to being extremely hyper connected with folks on social media. I think that's something we can bring to the table by, it's probably a little more easy for us to make a lot more connections, and that can enable this sort of barrier breakage into the industry.
I think that's a great one as well. Yeah, you're seeing more and more social media use in the industry for marketing, especially. But young people can certainly do more.
Yeah, just the fact that we might be a lot more receptive to making new connections, or can do it with ease. So that's something we can contribute to the industry.
Yeah, and I think building off what Jess said as well, like I would at Amsterdam International Water Week, or Aquatech last year, I was speaking with a fireside chat in person. Actually, this was 2 years ago, because last year was still COVID. But 2 years ago, I was at a fireside chat in person with some like utility leaders and other like smart water enthusiasts, let's say. And they were all saying that, now all of these tech people coming into the water sector because of digitalization and like all these new innovations, like they're just hopping around different companies getting the next highest paycheck because there's so little of them. So I really think, the water sector needs to, start bridging out and kind of welcoming in these diverse opportunities and perspectives and skills, but also like preparing that they will need these in the future, right? And like we might need more of them as well. So kind of how do we leverage that? How do we make sure that these skills are there? And how do we build bridges across all of these different components? And so that like Jess's journey isn't just like a one-off, but that lots of people have multiple types of skills and not just engineering through and through, or like soft skills or scrum master skills or agile working and all of these things as well. So it's just preparing the water industry for the innovation that we want to see and for the marketability of the products as well. So
great to hear you're at Aquatech. That was it, Aquatech in Amsterdam. I was there that year as well, and hopefully Alex and I will be there in the future. It's a great event. And one thing on that is we were trying to make our stand a bit more modern. So we're using digital technologies like virtual reality to get people onto the stand so they can look around our equipment, just to make that initial connection. I know you talked about social media and just getting that initial handshake, really. And one way to make often the stands are difficult to attract people to, and one way to attract more younger people we found at WEFTEC in Chicago as well is having something digital on our stand.
Also, like just reducing costs a lot for entering conferences and things like that in general. Like SWAN has been great because they've really reduced the cost for young professionals, especially if they're still studying or things like that. But entry to conferences where you can really network and meet all of these different companies is also, it's a big barrier, especially for people from, not North America or the West or Europe. So that's a huge thing too, that maybe companies can sponsor people to join more conferences. So
that's an interesting one.
That's an interesting one.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Alex is going to spend his budget on that. He's about to say he's going to spend his budget on that.
I will. I don't have a lot of budget. You talk directly with the global CEO of the company. Come on, you can have much more money than me. So.
I was just gonna say, like the case for actually charging for conferences now, like in my mind, is like completely non-existent after COVID, because you can do anything, learn anything, and meet anyone online. So like for young people, I just feel like that the idea of paying to do that now, like I don't know, I feel like it just went away from me.
You have to have a really big value add, or kind of like what Nivedita was saying, that like now we're so hyper connected as well.
Yeah.
We're just used to learning, used to connecting with people. Yeah, there's going to be a really big shift, I think. And also now I was thinking after SWAN too, like this online platform is fantastic. So how are they going to balance in future conferences with like in person and online as well, and continuing to build further beyond like their general people that can just fly over to any country and attend, you know? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it will be.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm curious. So I wanted to hear just your experience as a company on connection with people that are still not working with Nora and potentially can work with Nora. So I wanted to, what's your experience on people that look for the Nora to work, and when the Nora go for job fairs and try to reach to young people, what's their perception of the company, and how do they feel they could actually be, how do they feel about the possibility of working with a company?
Maybe that's something Kayleigh could speak to.
So actually for Nora, we just had is the Internet Water Challenge, where we had quite a few college students pitch ideas and everything, and they were able to get involved with the company. And then I believe John just brought something onto the screen that Alex can speak to.
Swift.
Yeah.
Have we lost you, Alex? We've also got Newt as well. So yeah, Alex can also talk about Newt, which is a collaborations with universities and young people.
Yeah, that's another thing we are trying to do. We are trying to get in contact and have collaboration more and more with universities or organization that have connection with university. I mean, the SWIFT is a program. I don't know if any of you guys is familiar, but SWIFT stands for Sustainable Water Initiative for Tomorrow, and it's a program or treatment process, if you want, that has the purpose to recharge basically the Potomac Aquifer in Virginia. The SWIFT is a program that was born because of a university and some professor of that university sponsoring that type of water reuse approach, but also, of course, with the local water company, water authority, that is Hampton Roads Sanitation District. So that's the thing that the Nora tried to do more and more, launching public, let's say, challenges like the Internet of Water one that can really attract startups or young people. And on the other side, we are trying to get more and more involved in these types of groups like at SWAN here, but we are also part, for example, of the Young Engineers Committee for WEFTEC, for example, or the International Ozone Association. We are part of it. Another big groups where there are hundreds of companies that is called NUT. In North America is Arizona State University, part of it, and other universities. So that's how we look for these people. That's how we try to well, that's where we meet these people, and then that's where we can do also some pre-selection, right? That's how we try. And I have to say, I mean, in the Nora, normally you find a kind of good environment for young people. I mean, you have people that are willing to mentor, to do mentoring. That's for sure. On the other side, I mean, if you have skills, people are willing to let you do things and sometimes makes mistakes, and that's very important, I believe. De Nora used to be a very conservative company, that's for sure. But in the last years, mentality is changing. Whatever Lisa and Jessica said before, I mean, the company has to change. And you have to change if you want to make sure that you can have that people, that you can attract people with that new skills that are now mandatory for every business, but also for the water business.
So, sorry, just to follow up on what you were saying. Do you feel a greater response from young people on this kind of initiatives than just the standard open applications or job applications to specific job positions?
Yeah, also because I have to say, it's much easier for engineers to be noted through these type of initiatives, where also people can prove their skills and their capability versus a CV that sometimes doesn't say much, right? Say something, but sometimes doesn't say everything, at least, right?
Yeah, the engine room is on the cruise ship. The cruise ship is a separate entity.
Yeah. John is very jealous about my experience on cruise ship. I promise.
Of recruitment, LinkedIn is becoming much more central to. Certainly, we're seeing it as well. More job adverts are going out on LinkedIn, so people growing their network have a much greater opportunity to get into the industry, in our opinion.
Yeah, but when you go on LinkedIn, then you have thousands of potential candidates, right? Here, you get in contact directly with the companies. You talk with the people, and sometimes also important managers of these companies. So you can expose yourself directly to these people, and people can evaluate you.
No, that's very interesting. That's very look. I think young people would be more would be willing more to do things like this than just the normal applications.
Yeah, I think the networking part, kind of like in the webinar that Jessica hosted recently for RISP about how to land a job in smart water, where we had Nikhil Deshmukh from JobStep, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jess, but he was saying, you know, you can. He actually just launched an AI to get to like start doing applications for you, but he still reiterated that like the best way to get into a company is to get to know the people and to meet the people and develop relationships with them, or get a recommendation and things like that, or participate in competitions or hackathons. So it's really, and it's such a breeze when you do know someone, and then you kind of you can avoid the whole application process. It's so much more fun and easier. But yeah, it's really all about who you know and just making relationships as well. So I think yeah, if companies can make more opportunities for that and make the interviews more about getting to know the person rather than if they check all the boxes, then that's also nice as well.
That's a good final point. Yeah, that's a good point about checking all the boxes and having interview score sheets and yeah, metrics that need to be checked. It is about getting to know the person. I interviewed somebody yesterday. It was just an open conversation, and you really got to the bottom of the person.
Yeah, I guess like for the person you're hiring and also for you, it's just nicer to know if they would be a good fit for the team and a good colleague.
Absolutely.
And like, yeah, rather than just, yeah, ticking all of the technical boxes, but then, yeah, being a bit difficult to work with or something like that. So, yeah.
That's probably the most important thing, actually. I think we'd all agree on that. The person has to fit in with the culture and the way the company is. And young people are very adaptable like that, I think. In particular, they're not set in their way because they haven't had that previous experience, or even previous negative experience that can shape a person.
Guys, I have a question for you. But in De Nora, are you like, did you already start to have any type of activities or programs to actually attract new talents into the company and therefore into the water sector? Or, I mean, how do you see the company doing in this direction?
Yeah, I mean, we have the water challenge that Kayleigh picked on, so that's a link we're doing with universities. It was an idea competition, so if you put your idea in, some of them are going to implementation now, so they'll be backed by the company. LinkedIn is a great place to check for roles available, especially as you're based in Italy. There are plenty of roles available in Milan.
Yeah, I mean more from like, you know, being slightly different than just like going on LinkedIn and finding a position, you know, because that's something that, yeah, we can always do. But like, I find very cool the fact you actually host this this session today. And yeah, I was wondering, like why someone should join, for instance, the Nora, or what will be different compared to another company, for instance.
Kayleigh?
So I can't really speak on what would be different for another company, since this is the only one I've worked on since graduating college. But what I had touched on before with like the company is extremely diverse. I was very fortunate with being brought in and being working for 2 women. That was really cool. We also have a lot of different mentors that have stepped up for me. That's also been really impactful. But what we've done over in Colmar in Pennsylvania, US, we actually we brought in interns from high school and from college. So we've brought them in and shown them what the company is, how it runs, and what our main product lines are. We've brought them in and shown them different like daily activities that they're going to get into. So that's one of the ways that we've brought in people.
And I would add something more. The Nora is not a gigantic company. I mean, the Nora is a global company with 22 locations all over the world. But I mean, you can speak with your CEO if you want. And it's kind of unique for sometimes for big water companies. So there is still that you have that global dimension, but there is still that connection with all the people if you want, right? You don't have to pass through thousands of levels if you want to talk with the very high level people because you have a great idea. You just call her and she answered. And it's not for granted sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm muted. No, I'm not. I can speak for myself. Like in the company where I am at the moment, I actually have the possibility to do so, but it's a pretty small company. I mean, we are something around 50 people. No, not so small, I would say, but like medium small. I have one last question for you guys. I mean, at least from my side. So today we gave some ideas here, and I was wondering if you had to pick one of them to implement in your company, which one would you pick? And then if you are actually planning to do so, like if you're actually planning to implement any of those.
Which ideas are you referring to?
Well, the things like we would like to see in the water sector more tomorrow. So I would.
The ones on the map, or?
Yes. Also, I mean the one in the second row, right? We said like more social media or improving the work environment or pointing more on marketing.
Yeah, I like the idea of marketing. I think that was a really good point raised. We don't really, apart from the collaborations with the universities and the colleges and some of the NEWT schemes where we are working directly with them, we're not going out there to say, let's get young people with a digital transformation background. So yeah, I think that would be something we would take away from this conversation, certainly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you could also kind of merge that one with the social media under the young professionals impact. Just like you guys were mentioning with how hard it is to break in, and it's so much easier if you know someone. We could market on social media that they're seeing every day, that's their main form of news of. So I feel like if we could even put like job opportunities on social media, just somewhere that they're seeing, I feel like that would be pretty cool to implement.
Okay.
You're ahead of the game with this Swift thing, to be honest.
Say again, Pedro, sorry.
I think you're ahead of the game with these Swift challenges. That's really something different. So it's kind of the fact that you open the company to the outer public. It already shows automatically that the company has an open culture. So
yeah, that's true. That's the way the company tried to position itself. But if we look at how many young professionals do we really have, not many, not enough. So one thing is to say, oh, we want to be open. Another thing is to take the risk sometime to have and to invest on young people and being able to understand what they can bring more, what they can do better, what they can bring different compared to what we used to do.
Do you think that the challenges might be too high spec for young people?
Well,
I'm just wondering.
We had a great video. I was going to stop you. I was going to show a video to do with Swift, but we've only got 1 minute 50 left. So
there's a networking launch to be.
We'll send you up. We can send you the link on YouTube. It's a YouTube video, so yeah, we'll send the link to everybody.
Yeah. So I just wanted to. I don't see there something that we could add into this. We already spoke about it, but diversity. I don't see it there on the map. I think we covered it a lot in here. So I would add a sticker there with diversity. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, great. It's been a great conversation, guys. Is there any other questions from the floor?
Will you post this on the events feed? I think it would be nice.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we'll share. And I think that it's a recorded session as well, so you'll be able to look back. We've actually, we're quickly running out of time. We were going to go into a bit more detail about some of the digital transformation things we are doing. I did touch on virtual reality. Internet of Things is another thing. We're looking at remote monitoring of plant, so we can optimize the processes like the ones you're looking over my shoulder at. That's something we're rolling out pilots for. Actually, yeah, we have one going with Alex in Netherlands, potentially. I have one in the UK started as a pilot. And then also Nora Via is a product where you have this remote assistance. It's something we're starting out with, which Kayleigh's been involved in.
Yeah, the Nora is in the middle. Well, it's starting now. It's digital transformation. The Nora is a very old company, almost 100 years, but because it's very old, used to be also very conservative. So now the Nora is starting this digital transformation. Well, before this call, I was talking with a Spanish company called Checkbuild. You can check it. It's a startup, and they.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the main session. I hope you all enjoyed your